Expats usually have two different motives for moving out. Number one, they run away from something. For one reason or another, they don't really see enough opportunities to grow, develop, and realize their full potential in their country. And number two, they are curious. They don't necessarily see major impediments in their country, but they just want to explore and discover what's out there. I've always been a curious person, and at some point this curiosity drove me to start learning English and explore the world. When I say explore the world, if you're Dutch, for you it probably sounds rather trivial and ordinary, because you guys can just drive 1 hour and you're already in another country. If you are from Russia, I'm talking 7-10 years ago, it's just not that common that you can go on a school trip to explore Belgium, France, or even Baltic countries. Let's just say it's not that mainstream, and you definitely stand out in a way if you take a keen interest in exploring the world. I moved to the Netherlands not because I was particularly running away from anything in Moscow or in Russia. The only thing I was truly unhappy was the Moscow metro. My commute to the university would take me 1 hour 10 minutes door to door, and this is only one way. And it's not like you sit comfortably during this 1 hour 10 minutes. The Moscow metro is fully packed. You literally stand like this, you cannot move, and you cannot even pull up your phone to check something, let alone reading. It's tough, and I did not want to accept that this would be my life. I vividly remember being in a fully packed train. I was maybe 16, 17 years old, and I was thinking to myself, I know this is temporary because I will eventually move. I knew that I would move because I wanted to see what's out there, I wanted to explore. What if there is another country that fits me better? What if I find my true soulmates in another country? What if speaking another language feels more right than speaking Russian? So I began exploring. First, I did a semester abroad in Germany. I was Skyping with mom, where I told her that I'd like to do my master's abroad, and I still remember her reply. She said, "Oh, Tanya, I thought that was already the plan." So I got back to Moscow in September, and up until May I was studying, preparing for interviews and various exams. To this day, this was the most demanding and excruciating time of my life. Getting accepted at the university was not an issue. The real issue was to get a scholarship. If you're from Russia, and probably this applies to other non-EU countries, to go study abroad you need to show that you have enough funds in your bank account. Enough funds is 800 euros a month multiplied by the number of months you're planning to stay in the country. Add to this flights, visa fees, and preparations that I needed to do while I was still in Russia. Back then in Russia we could not take a study loan because it just didn't exist, and even if it did, no bank in Russia would give me a loan to study in another country. In April I heard from the Dutch University in Amsterdam that I got a scholarship. I'll be honest with you, the Netherlands was not my first choice. My German back then was better than English, so I was aiming for Germany, but hey, you cannot get upset if you get admitted to Amsterdam and get a scholarship on top, so I went. The plan was to go back to Germany eventually, but here I am, 6.5 years in the Netherlands, and I don't have any plans to leave this country anytime soon. I moved to the Netherlands at 22. Mature age, you'd say. Yes, but I am a late bloom, and to me 22 felt like 16. I still didn't have my own beliefs, values, or ways of doing things formed. This definitely helped me to integrate because I was absorbing everything like a sponge with a lot of curiosity, and a lot of things I took as, oh, okay, this is how things are done, no questions asked. For example, I know that a lot of expats find Dutch annoying for being so strict with time and being so punctual, but to me, I was like a kid. I was like, oh, okay, this is how things are done here, so I'm going to be doing this from now on. Some beliefs I still had of my own, of course, because it's not like I moved when I was 3 years old, so I still experienced some cultural shocks. Number one, how close the Dutch are. I just moved to the Netherlands, and for some reason I thought it's an excellent idea for me to join a rowing club. I went there once, everyone spoke Dutch, and no one made a single effort to welcome me. I tried to make a conversation, but I just moved to the Netherlands. It was literally maybe 5 days since I arrived. Since I spoke German, I could understand some bits of Dutch, but I did not speak it at all. People did ask me some basic questions like where I'm from and what's my name, but then they turned back to continue chatting with their Dutch mates. This is the story how the Netherlands lost a valuable rower. For obvious reasons, I never got back. I appreciate that people want to speak their native language, but I never felt this level of indifference in any other country. In Spain, people usually don't speak good English, but they try to include you by the language of gestures, and I don't know, you feel the warmth, you feel welcome. In Russia too, we usually don't speak English well, but we make sure that you know that we are aware of your existence and make an effort to help you out or interact with you. In Bali, I felt the same. We could not make any deep, meaningful conversation due to their level of English, and unfortunately I don't speak any Indonesian, but they tried and I did too. In the Netherlands, you also cannot go deep, but not because the Dutch don't speak English. Now I learned some Dutch, I meet people at the gym and we chit-chat in Dutch. Whenever I join a Dutch-speaking yoga class, for example, they don't have to switch to English for me. You need to make a lot of effort to get into a Dutch circle, and I'm not sure that the language is the only impediment. Number 2, egalitarian society. This is a controversial one, and I agree to disagree. It's only my perspective, and there is no right or wrong answer. I'm not going to surprise anyone by saying that in the Netherlands everyone is equal. People don't show off how much money they make, they dress average. Even if they can afford brands, they will wear something rather humble. This was definitely cultural shock because in Russia people buy fancy cars that cost an arm and a leg just to show off. If someone has a heap of money, they will make it known through the clothes they wear, their property, cars they buy, and lifestyle they live. I think my least favorite is when people show it through their behavior. They make remarks like, oh, it's just 100 euro, let's just do it. It's just the 500 euro bill. I expected it to be more expensive. You get the vibe. In one way or another, they let you know how much money they make and they look down at people who don't make as much as they do. Generally, I'm happy that it's different in the Netherlands, but there is another side of the coin. The Dutch are sometimes afraid to live better because what will the neighbors say? They don't want to buy a better car even if they can afford it and even if they need it because they are afraid to be judged. They almost become apologetic for wanting a better life and earning high checks. And here again, the motive is really important. Do you want to buy an expensive car just to show off? The motive then will shine through and people will pick up on this motive. But if you want a more comfortable car because you need it, or you want a bigger house because you just got 2 kids, then why not? Some seem to be afraid of career achievements because they don't want to excel and stand out. They want to be average, but if you feel this internal drive, why not follow it? Why let someone else's opinion restrict you from reaching the full potential? For me, the greatest fear of all is to let my life pass and not realize my full potential. And I sense that some Dutch feel the same way too, but are horrified to accept it and follow it because it's not aligned with doe normaal, je bent gek genoeg. Or some don't want to excel and achieve any goals, which is totally fine of course, but then they judge those who want to. They preach, don't stand out, don't ask for more, just do your 9-to-5 job well, you're fine exactly where you are. Well, maybe you are fine exactly where you are and I respect this, but can you also respect others who want to get more out of their life? Number 3, how late everything happens in life. I was shocked to meet people in their 30s doing an internship. If you're watching this as a Dutch, you're probably confused, like, what's wrong with this? Let me immediately offer you some reassurance. There is nothing wrong with this. Remember, it's only my perception. We're not trying to figure out who's right or wrong, and this will never be the case on this channel. On my channel, every possible difference is welcome as long as we respect and accept each other. I'll explain to you how things flow in Russia, so probably then it will make much more sense for you why I was so surprised. In Russia, we grow up fast. I'd say around 13 people get drunk for the first time. Then these wild parties might continue for a few years, and by the time you reach 20, you already grow tired of this and want to start thinking about more serious topics. I had my first internship at 18 and I was done with internships by 22. I got my master's when I just turned 23, but maybe it's a little bit early even according to Russian standards, but let's say by 25 people are usually done with studies. By 30 30, people usually take on a managerial position or have their own company. We are talking a stable income, family, this sort of vibe. Russians at 30 are fairly mature because of the path they had to walk. Just think about it. If you already have a child or lead a team, you kind of have to be mature. The Dutch in their late 20s, early 30s just start thinking about their life path and start becoming more mature. I'm not judging and I'm not saying what's right or wrong approach here. I see the pros and cons of both, but I'm just sharing what stood out to me when I just moved to the Netherlands. I want to share with you one more cultural shock, just as a fun one. People talk to you out of nowhere. This story happened to my friend. He was in the waiting room and they were showing something about potatoes on TV. A Dutch man turned to my friend and said, "Aardappeltjes, huh?" This is just hilarious for non-Dutch people. I swear, with my friend we were laughing at this comment for months. We get it that this man probably wanted to share his enthusiasm about potatoes, but we never know how to react to it. Do you just nod and say, "Ja, lekker," or what do you do? If you're Dutch, please help us out. Please comment below how you would respond to this "aardappeltjes" comment.